Hi, I'm Allie,
And I'm Matt.
and we are from Bakersfield, California, and we recently quit our jobs and are now traveling the Americas in our big red van, Clifford.
So we converted Clifford in about 6 weeks, so we definitely did it in a hurry. We tried to capture as much footage as we can, but if you have any questions about how we built something or how we did some piece of the van, please leave us some comments or questions. We'd love to make more videos detailing exactly how we did it.
So what did we buy at Walmart?
We bought some isopropyl alcohol, some duct tape, and an electric carving knife.
What are we doing with all those things?
About to go murder somebody.
About to murder this mattress.
Or build ourselves a mattress, one of the two.
So we're using the electric carving knife to carve our mattress.
Cut up a memory foam mattress. From reading online, that is definitely the best way to go.
To cut it into 4 pieces?
5 pieces.
5, I don't even know.
Like a main piece, and then we're making 2 benches, so there'll be like 2 bench seats, and then the backs for those.
Sweet.
Yeah.
And what do we need the other stuff for?
The alcohol is just to like clean stuff off before sealing stuff for everything we're putting like lap sealing on the roof, and I'll probably try to use some inside where we're gluing down some of the insulation and other stuff. And then, I don't know, you wanted the duct tape, so.
Because we didn't have any.
Yeah, you never know. Duct tape is going to come in handy sometime.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
Sure. So we're going to upholster Clifford. Clifford the dog.
With some
Nice and furry.
fur.
He's the furriest red band you've ever seen.
A shag wagon, basically. Full of shag carpet everywhere. If only they had red, really.
Yeah, I know.
Come on, Joanne's. We cut the mattress into 5 pieces, and we did this so that we could turn the mattress into cushions that we used for a table during the day. So the large piece is in the back, and the 4 long skinny pieces are in the front, and those 4 pieces in the front are what fold up into the table during the day. We decided on going with a 6-inch memory foam mattress that we purchased from Amazon for about $250. We decided to do 6 inches because we wanted a little extra cushion, and it ended up working great. It wasn't too big to where we couldn't get out of the table, so it was the perfect size. And we had a lot of help from the dogs in this one. Okay, so
First cut is done. So now I gotta cut this into 4 pieces to make the
lighting's better over here.
Okay, so I'm like walking around. Like that is my back.
Used an electric carving knife,
Yeah.
a level for a straight edge, some measuring tape, and Sharpie.
About it.
So my aunt, mom, and I upholstered these mattress cushions that we created, and we used upholstery fabric that we bought at Joann's. I believe we used indoor-outdoor fabric so that it would be tougher to stains, and we knew we were going to be sitting on this every day as a table, so I didn't want it to be very easily to mess up. And we also got a dark color because of that, so it will hide stains. And we decided not to put a zipper in just because putting zippers in are a pain in the ass. So we just made these little tiny stitches on the ends to close it up. So when I want to wash it, which might happen every 6 months or once a year, depending on how dirty it gets, hopefully less, we'll just spot clean. I can just take out these stitches and pull it out like a sleeve. So we sewed one side completely shut, the other side is completely shut, and this side is like kind of half open, so that it would be easy to pull out and clean. So far we've had decent luck with these staying. When you sit on them and sleep on them all the time, it kind of puts a lot of pressure on them, and so some of them have had to come up and I've had to touch them back up, but I just brought a needle and thread with us, so I can just do that on the road wherever we are. So yeah, that's the upholstery. It's not very fancy. It's pretty basic sewing, just using a sewing machine, and but it does the job, and it looks really good. No one can tell that it's handmade.
So we just got done installing kind of our bed frame rails. You see we put one on each side. So we're gonna have kind of a platform bed back here with some benches over the wheel wells and a convertible table that's gonna kind of fold down in between the two. So just working on framing that out. I used some cross nuts or plus nuts to install these into the wall of the van. One reason is I'm trying to make sure I secure everything back here to some part of the van or the sheet metal really well, better than sheet metal screws, just in case we're ever in an accident or something like that. Our whole house doesn't try to end up in the front seat with us. So the plus nuts have a really good pull-out capacity, like they'll hold 1,300 pounds or so each. So I put 4 of those in each one of these, and I'm gonna put some through the floor as well as I finish framing this out. And I can show you guys what those look like and the DIY tool I made to install those. Yeah, sure. So this is what a plus nut looks like. I bought these online from Rivets Online. They're the cheapest, and these are the pre-bowled version, just so that they upset a little easier. Basically what happens is when you upset one of these, you'll insert this through the sheet metal, and then when you tighten this down, you actually crush this bolt down, and these pieces will flare out and grab the backside of the metal. So it's kind of like a rivet, but a lot larger surface area and a lot stronger. So they sell some tools online, but they're like $40 or so, and it's pretty easy to do it yourself. So all I did is use the same bolt that I'm using to attach everything to the van. So this is a 2-inch, we're using 1/4 inch by 20 cross nuts. So you put a bolt on here, put a washer, or sorry, nut, put a washer on here. You need to use a smaller crescent or some other plate on here, and what that does is that keeps this from spinning inside the sheet metal hole while you're tightening everything down. I made the mistake and used one that was too large. I used like a 1/2 inch, and it deformed the head of this really badly. So make sure you use something that's smaller. And I screw this on here until I can almost see the back. That means you got a good amount of thread bite here, so you don't pull that out. And basically what you do is just insert this into the hole. You'll need both of these wrenches, and you're gonna tighten them. And then as you do that, that'll crush this. You may also need like a socket or something else to hold the head of this. Some people use like a carriage bolt and a set of vice grips. I got a hex head just so I can put another wrench, or I use just a 3/8 inch breaker bar. So I'm gonna probably just waste this one because I got several. So you can see this outside one's turning as well.
Wow, that's cool.
Unless you have a gear wrench or something, it's a little faster. So you can see what this is doing on the backside of the sheet metal in there.
When do you know it's done?
So I just tighten it until you'll feel it pretty much bottom out. I don't know what it'll do since it doesn't have metal. Obviously the sheet metal would be running in this groove right here. So we'll see what it does without something to grab onto, but you can see it's still getting a little tighter. So yeah, it gets pretty tight, and that's when it's done.
Cool.
And then it should come apart really easily, except for when this is in the sheet metal, this piece will be really stuck. So I haven't had any trouble getting any of them out. With this specific size, I'm using a 3/8 inch drill bit to put the hole in the van. So I'm pre-drilling the holes, spraying them with some Rust-Oleum primer just to, protect from rust, and then installing them. I know in some of the newer sprinters, some of the transits and stuff, there's holes already that'll accept these. You can get these in a bunch of different sizes. I just got all one size, and I'm making holes specifically where I want to use them. So that's kind of how those work. So I'm going to try to use them on cabinets, kind of a lot of our furniture, especially places I can't get to the backside. Things that are going through the floor, we may use a plate. and a backing nut instead of one of these, but it's a good option for securing everything in your van. All right, so working on framing up the bed. Wanted to kind of show you guys the progress I made yesterday. I built these 2 large rectangle frames. Basically we're gonna have, you know, a bed platform in the back there with 2 bench seats, and then a table that's gonna raise and lower into the gap there that'll kind of fold down into our bed. So just a couple things that I ran into. The pocket hole kit that I used came with this driver. These are only about 14 inches apart, and with this on here plus the drill, definitely does not fit. So luckily I had a few parts and pieces at the house, so I had an additional square driver that's short and a little quick adapter for the drill. So I was able to make that work, and I'm also driving some of them by hand just to like tighten them up if I can't get the drill in there. So just something to keep in mind. Granted, this drill is like from the 90s, so it's enormous compared to a lot of drills nowadays. But if you're trying to get pocket screws in on something kind of shallow, you know, 12 inches or less or something like that, you might have some trouble, especially if they're driving 2-inch screws. So that just backs it up even further when you're first getting the screw started. That's about all I've learned so far. Otherwise, using glue in every joint, 2 pocket screws. Everything's attached to the wall there. I kind of showed you in the last video with cross nuts bolted into the frame. I'm probably going to upsize this piece from a little 1x2 up to like a 1x3, and then run some of the same plus nuts, or since I can get to the underside of the van, I might just back it up with a washer and another nut underneath, something like that. Yeah, that's where we're at. Now I gotta finish this side, attaching the, I was not in yet, attaching the frame to the side of the van, and then should be done here pretty soon. I designed the bed to be kind of modular, so we wanted a space that we could actually sit at and work, and also like a big space to, you know, have dinner and actually like host some people potentially. You know, it's kind of weird, you know, traveling in a van with your spouse, but we wanted to have room to have other people. So we designed a table that's kind of, I got the idea from like an RV or like a sailboat. In like a sailboat gallery, a lot of times the table will fold down and turn into like a bed for guests at night. So that's what we built. We built like kind of a U shape with 2 benches on either side and a solid piece back here. So this piece will not move, it'll be screwed down. This will be the benches, so we'll have 1 piece of our mattress here. We already cut it into 5 pieces, so the big chunk goes back here. There'll be a piece for the seat of each bench, and then that cushion will make the backrest of each bench. And then when this table is time for bed, we'll fold it down into the middle. It'll rest on some wood pieces here, and also on its table support. And then you grab the backrests, throw them into the middle, throw your sheet on it, and that's your bed for the night. Another reason is because I'm really tall. We looked at sleeping sideways, but I can't fit in this van sideways. With this style bed, we're able to fit a full queen size bed into the van, which is also something we really wanted someplace comfortable to sleep. So
How did you frame it?
So I kind of showed this in a video earlier, but the first thing I did is I ran a 2x3 up along the wall of each side of the van. There's a steel support, part of the interior structure of the van that runs right here, and I used plus nuts to attach everything. So I ran that the full length of 80 inches, which is the length of a queen bed, and then kind of built off of that. So we have 2 pieces running up the side of the van, and then framed across to make this 32-inch piece, which is the back, and then some long runners that come up. So these 2 pieces were built kind of as big long rectangles that sit on the floor, and then just kind of attached them to this piece on the wall. I don't know if that makes any sense, but I have some footage of it before we have plywood covering everything that you can go check that out. That should hopefully explain kind of what it looks like underneath a little bit more.
You working on here?
gonna be our kitchen table, dining room table.
Dining room table.
So I edge glued 1x4s. I ripped them all down to 3 inches so they have like nice straight edges on them. It works pretty well. I guess you would use a different piece of woodworking equipment called a joiner, which we don't have, so just use a table saw. And it came out pretty good. I had to like put a little bit of pressure on them with the clamps to get everything to fit, and there's still a little bit gaps, but you know, whatever. Nothing's perfect. So I just put a router around the outside to kind of round this top edge and make it really nice. Just gonna hand sand the bottom edge so it's not as sharp. I got one more edge to route, and then we're gonna stain it and clear coat it. We'll be done.
Woo woo!
Yeah. We stained the table with a Minwax stain, and I don't remember the exact color, but I would encourage you just to get some small samples and test it on the wood you're planning to use if you're going to make your own, and pick a color that works well with your interior. After staining the entire thing, we used a polyurethane coat on the top and bottom. We did this for the table and for our countertop. This gives it a really good durability against scratches and also makes it completely waterproof. And you want to make sure you do the top and the bottom of your table or countertop, because if you don't, your table can absorb moisture from one side and not the other, and it can end up warping and bending over time. Just wanted to show you guys the table that I've been working on. We set this in the kind of cutout where it'll sit. Everything fits pretty nice. So now I have to mount our little adjustable stand. Wanted to go with something that raises and lowers automatically, but they're all really expensive. So I got this off of eBay for like 150 bucks. It is manual. You just have to twist the knobs and raise it and lower it manually, and then twist them to lock it in place. So we'll see how well it works. If I have to, I could probably swap it out for something with like a gas spring assist. But yeah, that was like $400, so we decided not to do that. When we set it in there, I found that I measured the distance between the bottom of the table and the face of the stand, and realized I needed about 4.5 inches to make up the difference. So I made this out of a 2x12, kind of made this like tiered setup so that it doesn't get in the way of anybody's knees or anything like that. So cut a 7x7 square, 9x9 square, and an 11.5 by 11.5, which is like the full width of the 2x12. And then glued and screwed each tier together. You can see one of those under there. So each one's screwed into the next one, and then this one's screwed into the table. And then, yeah, I did some washers and panhead screws to mount that to the stand. So this is looking pretty good. It's ready to go into the van. And then I need to try to figure out exactly how I'm gonna mount this to the floor. I wanted to do plus nuts. These are 1/4 inch holes, but getting them all lined up, drilled, and have everything line up just perfectly might be a little tricky, but we'll figure it out. I'll let you know if we do something different, or we'll show you what we're doing with the plus nuts when we get there. So I wanted to talk about how we attached our table to the floor. The stand came with obviously this circular bolt pattern with 6 bolts in it. We ended up actually only using 3 of them, and we used 1/4 inch by 20 inch stainless steel panhead bolts that fit down into these kind of grooves right here that it has. Drilled those all the way through the vinyl tile floor, through the underfloor which we have, which is rubber, and then through the metal of the van. And then I used a large fender washer, a lock nut, and a stainless steel nut on the back side of that. And the reason we went through everything is that we talked about doing it prior, but trimming the floor around this to fit exactly, I think was going to be very difficult. And we also wanted to make sure that this fit in between our benches and everything nicely. So it was important that we got this right in the center. So we wanted to wait till all of that had been built. I basically brought the table down and let it rest in its final location, and then marked and drilled all those holes for the bolts to go through.
So this is our bed in bed mode, and when we move it to table mode, we take our cushions and put them on the side, and then Matt's gonna come help me to lift the table up, because it's easier with 2 people. We can do it with one person, but it's not the easiest. Voila!
So the toughest part is just getting it kind of up initially, and that's because we built this ledge in here that the table sits on when it's down. So it doesn't just sit on the pedestal, it sits kind of on the bench all the way around it. And we made that a pretty tight fit, so just getting it up initially, it kind of gets jammed up a little bit. If I had done it again, I would have given that a little bit more space because it doesn't need to be that tight. Some gaps here wouldn't have affected the way it looks or the way the bed sits on it. So just some feedback if someone else is trying to do a similar kind of design. Overall, we really like the way our table and bed combo turned out. I think the only thing we would be interested in changing would be the table pedestal that we used to hold the table up. As you can see in the video, it's a little bit difficult to get up, especially if only one person is doing it. So we'd like to use something with a gas spring or electric or something that has a little bit more assistance to get the table up, just so it's a little bit more manageable with a single person.
If you like this video, what should you do?
Subscribe!
Subscribe! Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. If you have any questions, if you're like, what the heck, what did they do? They skipped over this part. Hit us up. We'll make sure to respond. Oh, Amber, you're such a good girl.